Peace and prosperity be unto all who's listening and watching. It's your girl, Lachey Miller, right? And I'm back with another video. And I know a lot of you have been feeling alone. Feeling like, man, it's so hard to do it on your own. But ultimately, even if you're doing it alone, you're never alone, okay? Even if you have to learn these different things to get where you're going, you're never alone. You're never by yourself. Now, ultimately, sometimes we feel that we are alone, and we're not. We're not. We're not alone. And I know it's getting harder because you may have been working on your dreams for a very long time, and it's starting to feel real discouraging. And let's be honest, it's starting to be really discouraging. But don't give up, because you never know what tomorrow may bring. You never know what may happen tonight. You don't know what's going to happen in the next few seconds. So as long as you're working on you, being better, finding better solutions for your current problems, and not making excuses for why you as an entrepreneur or somebody who wants to succeed or be better or have an extraordinary life can't do the work. You ultimately just need to do the work. Now, a lot of us have to come to this standpoint where no matter what's going on in life, you just got to stand in it. Stand and fight whatever it is that you're going through. See, it's not what we're going through, it's the fact that we don't stand in it and face it. So it's often easy to acknowledge that things aren't going well. Things aren't going right. This is not going my way. It's often okay to complain, but in complaining, there's an incomplacency. And when you're incomplacent with things in your life and have no contentment at all, contentment is a good thing in a sense. You won't have contentment within yourself, but you never want to be content with the current situation or the current circumstance to the point where you are stagnant or stuck in one place to a point where you don't grow. Every day, you need to take the time to acknowledge the lessons you learned for the day. This is the ultimate way of knowing that you're growing. Because if you can acknowledge every lesson of every day and what was intended for you to learn that day or that morning or in that situation or circumstances that you had to go through, if you're aware throughout the entire day, you can learn each lesson that you are intended to learn. And you also choose out the ultimate lesson of that day. Now, the best way to do this is just when you have a time to sit down and write it out, write out what you went through and what you learned from it and how you can improve that situation for a next time that it may happen or occur again. See, ultimately, we're going to go through a lot of the same things over again. But the difference is, every time we face it, we get better. We have a better solution. We face it differently than we did before. We stand. It's not the fact that you're going through things. It's the fact that how you're standing in those things makes it where it feels like it's not going to happen for you. You got to stand in the uncertainty. You got to stand in the unknown. You got to stand in the lack of information. Sometimes you just don't know. You just don't know all the answers, and you want so bad to have all those answers. But in time, everything, every question, every thought that ever may came up, every doubt you ever may had, or every uncertain thing that came to mind will come to a stopping point and will be resolved, because all problems ultimately become resolved. Now, if you're somebody who's all about solving problems and big on solutions, then your problems will ultimately be solved because you're working on solutions. You're trying to figure it out. You're looking for the root of the problem. Ultimately, I believe with people always fix the surface of the problem, but never ultimately kill the root of it. And that is the big thing. And I'm going to talk about that in a video after this video. But I want you guys to know that the only way to get through anything is if you're standing in it and if you're standing to face things. meaning no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on, you just want to be that person who knows how to stand the storms, the hardships, the trials, and the adversary that goes on in life, because there will be much adversary. There will be much to come. And as you grow as a person, sometimes these things come up in your life and they're often sometimes the same. You'll often experience someone who's kind of like somebody from your past, or you may experience a current situation with another person. But you know the difference between how you experienced it before and how you'll experience it now, depending on who you are as an individual today. Well, ultimately, that defines whether you are a changed person. If you're the same person you were then when you experience, the way you go about it now will be the same result and the same outcome. But if you've grown since the last time you experienced that, you took the lesson on from what it was that you were supposed to obtain from the situation, the hardships, or whatever it is that you were going through at those times in your life. When you go through it again, you have an ultimate different reaction, and nothing will faze you the way that it did before. You will have the answers, you will know how to react, you will even have the solution, because you already acknowledge the fact, you already acknowledge the problem, and you already know the solution, and you already know where you went wrong and the person how they went wrong doing. So ultimately, like, after you experience some things in your life, you may come across the same things, and that's a part of growth. We often learn the same information. We often learn and go through the same experiences. We often go through some of the same experiences twice. But this is levels to growth, because ultimately every time that you experience them, you either experience it the same and get an ultimate same result, or you'll experience it different from the first time you ever experienced it and come out on top of it. See, that's the biggest key to growth, is knowing that you can go through the same old thing, learn the same thing, but get something new out of it. Because it's a lot of stuff that we've been learning since we were kids, right? A lot of this information we know today, and a lot of information that we're just knowing, we can't count that as something we learned when we was younger, because we didn't. But it's a lot of stuff that we learned when we were younger that we're learning again today, just in a new perspective, in a new light, in a new way, and going about it differently than before. Because we're a lot mature, we're a lot educated, and we're a lot well prepared and equipped for the things, the tasks, and situations and circumstances ahead. So this ultimately makes us well-rounded and experienced, and sometimes even experts on our lives, because when we get through things, we can get other people through them too. So if you are somebody who is someone who constantly can go through something and never learn the lessons, God bless your soul. Okay, because I'm a fast learner in some aspects of my life, and then there's some things that I really struggle with. And there's some people I know or I've come across that I'm talking about years to, and bad things, like, that saying I say, bad things happen so greater things can take place, which is true. But the biggest thing, what I learned from a specific individual in my life, or somebody I come across, she will always repeat herself, and no matter 100 people could have told her the same thing, and it wouldn't have changed her actions. She knew she needed to change. She acknowledged the fact that what she was doing was wrong. She was aware of it, and she wanted change, but she struggled, and she kept going back to her ways. So when you're fighting against choices and decisions, because we're creatures of habit, you got to be mindful of what you teach yourself, what you indulge yourself in, what you allow your mind to feed on, what you allow yourself to watch, what you allow yourself to speak, and what you allow yourself to hear. Because if we indulge in things, we become those things. If we eat those things are us. So ultimately, our whole reality is based on us alone. We create those realities, we create those habits, we create those choices, those decisions that ultimately affect us in the long term. Now, it may not affect us now, but I guarantee you, it's like investing. So things that you do now, they're gonna prosper and be 1,000 times fold. Not now, but maybe a few months from now, maybe a year from now, maybe 2, 10, it just on down the line. Some things affect you. Even our bad choices affect us long term. Because if you create something like an addiction and you don't cut the addiction off early on in your life, it'll be a struggle to stop it. So when you're trying to work towards something, you have this bad habit in your way of what you're trying to do. And it's ultimately self-destruction. And you want to be a person who knows how to stand in situations and circumstances and how to overcome those things. Now, I ultimately can teach you all that, and I do consultations, and I do all these different things to help people because I want you to be your best self, and I want to help you through all these different things that you're going through. But you gotta allow me to know those things, and I make myself available for you guys to let me know. Now, I'm working on a lot of amazing things that's going to help a lot of people in the long run. But right now, the biggest thing is learning how to stand in who you are, but also learning to stand and face what you're going through. Stand and rise above the occasion, the circumstances, and know that no matter what, the outcome is ultimately based on your maturity and growth. And if your outcome is the same, it's because you haven't changed. So, growth is the result of progress from the process, from the acknowledgement of choices and decisions on change behavior. Now, it's all up to you to be a better person, but I can't decide for you. Peace, love, and happiness. I hope you guys have an abundant day, and I love you all.